and there's intimacy on the radio, and there's naturalness on the radio that can never be replicated on TV. The marvelous resurgence of radio as a political force in this country.
News-related radio programming is evolving.
There's a huge hole in our dialogue that can be filled by the synthesis of traditional radio and the freedom that comes from a live podcast. You're about to experience Cowboy State Politics live. Here we go. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to another incredible installment from very high above all the puerile and vapid and insipid forms of Wyoming mainstream media. This is Cowboy State Politics. I, of course, am your illustrious host, David Iverson, firmly ensconced behind the silver Cowboy State Politics microphone and broadcasting to you from the base of the Bighorns at the Cowboy State Politics Studio in Sheridan, Wyoming. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the program. It's Open Line Friday. That's right, my friends, Open Line Friday on Cowboy State Politics Live. This is the day where we talk about whatever you want to talk about. You see, normally you kind of have to talk about what's on my mind. I mean, after all, it's my show, but not on Friday. On Friday, it's whatever is on your mind. And yeah, Ken.
I have a question.
I have an answer. Perhaps they'll match.
I know that you like alliteration.
I do.
Why have you never used puerile and putrid?
Putrid. Ooh, putrid is another good one.
Just a thought.
Yeah. I mean, that might go along with putrid, bombastic twits. Anyway, it's Open Line Friday, my friends. If you want to be part of the show, the phone number in the studio is 307-374-8989. 307-374-8989. If there's something you want to talk about, well, go ahead and give me a call. And I'm sure a lot of you want to talk about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And let's be perfectly honest. That's what that was. It wasn't a murder. It wasn't a killing. It was a political assassination. And words are important, my friends, and they do mean things. And so we should just call things as they are. But good news, first thing this morning, I woke up and we apparently have a suspect in custody. From Fox News, Charlie Kirk's suspected assassin captured after a fatal shooting of influential conservative voice in Utah. And I quote, police have arrested a suspect in the assassination of Charlie Kirk on a Utah college campus earlier this week. Charlie had been invited to speak at Utah Valley University by the campus chapter of Turning Point USA. Trump said on Fox and Friends this morning, quote, that I think with a high degree of certainty we have him. President Trump said, revealed on Fox and Friends this morning. He added, essentially, someone who knew him turned him in. And I saw one headline that it was the guy's dad that turned him in. I can't imagine how difficult that was for him to do. But apparently we've got somebody in custody. Ken, let's go ahead and bring up the news. They're starting a press conference.
Here. Kash Patel, the FBI director,
morning,
there
ladies and gentlemen.
on the left.
At today's press conference, we will hear from Governor Cox, FBI Director Kash Patel, and Sheriff Mike Smith. We also have with us Utah DPS Commissioner Bo Mason, Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson, FBI Special Agent in Charge Robert Bowles, and local and federal law enforcement partners. Following the remarks today, Governor Cox, Director Patel, and Commissioner Mason will take questions. Thank you.
morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes. When encountered in person by investigators in Washington County on September 12th, in the early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with those surveillance images. Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger.
Okay, all right.
Investigators identified.
All right, so they got him. Good thing, and it sounds like they got the right guy.
Yeah, a lot of times I see these things, and after a 2 or 3 day manhunt, they find somebody.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, how do we know for certain this is really him, or are they just trying to shore up their integrity or whatever?
Well, it seems to me this isn't one of those cases.
Yeah, he obviously didn't make much effort to cover his tracks. He told somebody else about it, apparently. He went up and down the stairs, as you pointed out earlier when we were watching the film, and touching the handrails. They found the weapon.
Pretty cut and dried, looks to me. Well, we got him. That's the important part. And I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that I am extraordinarily happy that they got him alive, that he will be held accountable. And that he'll face a jury of his peers. That's the way that things ought to work in our republic, and thank God that they got him. And so, where I'd like to at least begin the program this morning is with a little bit of reaction. I often tell you that some mornings, coming up with show prep, it's a little bit harder than others. This morning was no exception. Pretty much everything, everywhere you look, even foreign newspapers, everything is about Charlie Kirk, and I think it ought to be. There's all day yesterday, I saw a mix of different reactions to the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and some of them were just downright vile. Let me give you an example here. Just hold on just a second. Where is it? Yeah, here we go. Show this one, Ken. Yeah, so this is just one of the messages that showed up. Somebody in Seattle spray painted that on a college campus. Absolutely horrible. And I don't understand what motivates people to do this, except that they're just overcome with hate and evil. However, and I'm going to play something for you in just a minute that is the exact opposite of that. But go ahead, Ken.
I just think a big part of it is a lack of respect for life.
Absolutely.
And that's part of where modern culture has gone with the there's a lot of abortion.
Yeah.
We play video games where we go around and blow each other up, and there's all this, and we teach in the schools, you're nothing special, you just came out of a swamp.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. And I think it all culminates in this kind of an attitude.
Absolutely it does. But on the other hand, though, there was a vigil held last night in downtown Seattle. Ken, go ahead and play the video, Amazing Grace in Seattle.
I didn't see a lot of cars being tipped over and burned.
No, I didn't see any cars being tipped over and burned over this one because conservatives don't do that, despite what the media would have you believe. There was also some reaction from Wyoming media figures. I guess we could call Taylor a media figure, but our good friend Taylor Haynes put out a video yesterday. Go ahead and play what he had to say.
Good morning. Many of us today have a heavy heart. The murder of Charlie Kirk was certainly a clear and present gut punch. This was a clear and present warning that his speaking out for our Judeo-Christian values, for our Constitution, for our God-given rights, for the right to life, got him killed. Charlie Kirk spoke for millions, spoke our views, our aspirations, and about our republic for us millions. Now, the baton is passed to us. Let's not panic. Let's not rush out in a violent reaction. Let's just continue to speak out and use the Charlie method. Charlie spoke with passion, without vitriol. He spoke with conviction, without hatred. So let's speak out for our Judeo-Christian values. Let's speak out about all the things Charlie spoke out for us. Let's have millions of us speak with that one voice. That's Charlie's legacy. God be with us all, and thank you.
I talked to a lot of people yesterday that were, and I kind of spoke to this on yesterday's program, but a lot of folks that I ran into were just angry. Righteous anger, to be sure, but it was entirely undirected. That it was in no particular direction. It was just people are angry. And I understand that. And you should be angry. But you shouldn't allow that to overcome your belief in God, and overcome the reasons why you liked Charlie Kirk or that you loved Charlie Kirk. Now, I told you yesterday that I never personally met him. I mean, I had like a 5-minute conversation with him, my one shot to talk to Charlie Kirk, and I had to tell him about the Turning Point USA chapter at Buffalo High School. That's what I used my time with Charlie Kirk for. But he would never have been the person to say you should go out and act violently. He would never do that. Charlie Kirk was a man of God, and that's how he wanted to be remembered. Yesterday, I played you the video of him saying that he wanted to be remembered for the courage of his faith. And that's what we should all do. Yeah, it's absolutely okay to grieve, and I think that you should. It's okay to be pissed, but it's not okay to act out. So we should act in the way that Charlie would want us to, and that is to preach the gospel, to bring people to Jesus, and to tell the truth. And, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And that is exactly how you should remember Charlie Kirk. Incidentally, I did find another video of Rush Limbaugh talking about the first time he met Charlie Kirk I think it was back in 2018. But go ahead and play that video, Ken.
There was a conference. What was it? Turning Point USA. How many kids were there? And there 3,000 student activists here it was actually over at West Palm Beach. And this is a group that has been put together and operates under the auspices of Charlie Kirk, right? Who is you're going to be hearing that name if you haven't. He's an Charlie Kirk. Let me just tell you. I don't want to jinx him, but I'm just going to tell you. They brought Charlie Kirk to the golf course to meet me about a month ago. He was in town to set up this Turning Point thing. And they brought him to the golf course to meet me. It was we were getting ready for a 8:45 a.m. start. And they brought him out while I was getting ready to go to the range to loosen up. And I spoke with him for about a half hour. And he told me how he grew up in a home where my program was on all the time. He was just effusively complimentary to me, which I, of course, understood and told him he's very wise. His family's very wise. He chuckled. He laughed. This is the kind of guy that you can see really becoming big in politics as he gets older. He just has the courage, the personality, the charisma. You may think this sounds weird, but I remember when Bill Clinton became president, there were all of these stories about Bill Clinton at Oxford and Bill Clinton at Yale and Bill Clinton here and all these people who went to school with him. There was story after story after story where people were saying that they just knew Bill Clinton was going to be president someday. In college, he just had that kind of ambition, and he impressed people. And I'm telling you that people are saying the same things about Charlie Kirk.
Exactly, as they should. I mean, and there are several different videos. I mean, there was, I've got a piece here in the stack of stuff from Ben Shapiro. And he said when he first met Charlie Kirk, the guy was pitching his new project, Turning Point USA, to him. And he left that quick meeting thinking, that guy's going to be running the RNC before too long. Little did he know Charlie Kirk would lead something much larger than the RNC. And frankly, I think something much more important. But here is the point I want to get to this morning, that just like after September 11th, and yesterday was September 11th, we all remembered what happened to our country, how some evil terrorists killed almost 3,000 of our fellow countrymen. And it knocked us down, for sure, knocked the whole country down. But on September 12th, the day after, we picked ourselves up, brushed ourselves off, and we continued in the great task, as Abraham Lincoln once said, the great task that lays before us. And it is the attitude of 9/12. And this is, I mean, the only reason why I think of this is exactly how I felt the day after September 11th. Yeah, I was heartbroken, but I thought, all right, it's time to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and do what needs to be done. And I think that's what Charlie Kirk would have wanted. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't want us sitting around worrying about him, because quite frankly, my friends, that guy's got nothing to worry about. He's sitting at the Lord's table right now, and he doesn't have to worry about a thing in the world. And the only question I have for you is, I mean, I've seen memes all over the place. I am Charlie Kirk. Okay. Well, then act like him. Do something. A friend of mine, James O'Keefe, often says, be brave, do something. And what I mean by that is stick up for yourself, stand up for your values, stand up for those things that you believe in, and continue speaking the truth. And so that, my friends, is what we're going to do today. On today's program, at the top of the hour, we're going to talk to a new friend of mine. Her name is Michele Swinick, and she runs a podcast called Save Your Freedom. The whole point being that if you're not healthy, you can't really do anything. You're not going to be able to save your freedom or anybody else's. And so I thought we'd talk to her. One of the things that we haven't covered on the show very often is the Make America Healthy Again movement. And so we're going to go ahead and do that. Before we get there, though, I think we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll pick it up on the other side. I've got some local stuff I want to talk to you about. A couple of things in the cow pie and in the Sheridan. I got to come up with a better name for the Sheridan Press. But anyway, a couple of things in local news, and then we'll continue with the program. Back in a minute. Are you tired of all the meaningless political drivel floating around right now? Endless commentary that really doesn't have anything backing it up? Do you long for the days of true investigative journalism coming from an authoritative source who really doesn't care how popular and apparently good-looking a politician is? Fortunately for you, that's what I do on Cowboy State Politics. New episodes are published every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, and you can get them anywhere that you get your podcasts. iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, really any of them will work. But the easiest way is just to go to the website, cowboystatepolitics.com. There, you can find all of the shows, as well as any of the articles I might bring up during the course of the program. Cowboy State Politics Live, the program you're listening to right now, is broadcast every Tuesday through Friday beginning at 8 a.m. Pay attention to all of that other block-headed nonsense if you want. Just make sure that you don't miss an episode of Cowboy State Politics. And now, back to our program. Welcome back to the program, Open Line Friday on Cowboy State Politics Live. If you've got something on your mind, the phone number to call is 307-374-8989. 307-374-8989. Whatever you've got on your mind, we'll talk about it. And I know it drives Agent 29 out of his mind because we have no idea what's coming. And I'm telling you, Agent 29, every Friday, I put this program under enormous risk. You never know what's happening. Never know what's going to come across the electric telephone or the digital telephone or whatever the case may be. But we're going to do it today.
Well, that's right, because if something were to happen to this show, whatever would I find to do in the mornings?
Yeah, whatever would you do? I mean, maybe sleep in or, drink more coffee or...
Wait a minute. Please call.
Please call. All right, 307-374-8989. Well, as I mentioned... Oh, wait a minute. I did have one more video of Charlie Kirk that I forgot to play during the last segment. He was sitting on the same couch that I've sat on in Chad Prather's studio. But here's what he had to say. It's prescient. Take a look.
Perfect lead into the final question. Charlie Kirk presidency 15 years from now?
No. I mean,
you sound like me in that regard. People are like, you need to run for something. I'm like, oh, no.
Well, look, I'm having way too much fun. I'm enjoying myself. But this is going to get really nasty. Everyone listen to this. I just hope you understand. Think of the nastiest moment in 2016. They are not going to let this guy get reelected without the most brutal, drawn-out fight. We're going to have the tech companies getting involved.
Yeah.
The media is going to get worse than ever. They're going to be taking down Twitter accounts left and right. They're going to be taking down videos on YouTube. They are going to be coming after us. They're going to be following us in the middle of the night. They're going to be breaking into our houses. You think I'm joking. They are going to be violent. That you will not be able to walk the streets of the MAGA hat without your physical health be put in jeopardy. And I hope it doesn't get that way. I hope that this clip gets unearthed and everything's like wonderful. I hope that the country comes together and we have a beautiful Unitarian healing moment in September.
Yeah, that didn't happen, but pretty prescient if you ask me. So anyway, let's continue on with the news. From the Sheridan Press, Ken, I have to tell you, I saw this one last night, and I did not have a roll of duct tape handy, but the top of my head about came off. A column written by Chase Christensen, the superintendent of Sheridan County School District Number 3, respect for teachers means paying them what they deserve. And I quote, let's see here. Every few years, Wyoming revisits its school funding model through the process of recalibration. This work is both complicated and important. And over the last past few months, the legislative committee assigned to this important task has been deep in the weeds on topics ranging from half-time positions to support of student mental health, lunch prices, and insurance costs. But they all share a single foundation: teachers who make the schools work. And now that foundation is under strain. The way we set I love this paragraph. The way we set teacher salaries in the state funding model communicates very directly how much we respect the profession. At present, the model sets base pay at 75% of the comparative wage index. Whether intended or not, this sends a message that teaching is worth 3/4 of a job. That's not just unfair, it's profoundly inaccurate. Teaching is one of the most demanding 100% jobs that exist. Now, I completely agree with this, Superintendent Christensen. I think that we should pay teachers a competitive and fair wage for their 100% job that they go to so faithfully, and many times do so with very little thanks. But why is it, if you believe those things, then why didn't you raise their pay when the legislature gave you the money to? Oh, that's what I'm saying, yeah. The legislature approved an 8.5% raise for all teachers and staff. And Sheridan County School District number 3 gave a measly, and I don't remember the exact percentage, but a measly 3% raise. Not 8.5%, 3. If you love your teachers so much, Chase Christensen, why didn't you give them the raise that you were paid to do?
Yeah, we were pretty direct ourselves. He mentioned, directive.
Yeah.
We were pretty direct in House Bill 316, which I did vote for, which said 8.5%.
It doesn't say 3.
It doesn't say 3. And it doesn't say shortchange them and then blame it on me.
Yeah, exactly right. But that is exactly what this piece does. And it was published on September 6th, which, interestingly enough, let me tell you when I published the episode explaining how every Wyoming school district, well, except for one, Sublette County gave their teachers a 10% raise, which was over and above what the legislature had prescribed. But let's see here. I published my episode, my explosive episode, which, by the way, has pretty much gone Wyoming viral. Wyoming viral is different than regular viral in that we're a smaller state. But I published that episode on September 3rd. The Sheridan Press printed this piece on September 6th. So you don't suppose it's a little bit of, I don't know, trying to defend himself from what his school district actually did? How about this piece? Quoting from his op-ed, too often, the conversation around salaries devolves into comparisons with surrounding states, but this is a faulty starting point. Nearly all of those states have the same 75% assumption backed into their models. Comparing ourselves to them is like comparing one broken yardstick to another. For this recalibration cycle, let's not be guided by what has been done before, by practices that have undervalued a group of professionals. You mean like you? Like your school board? Not giving teachers the 8.5% raise that you were paid for? I only have one question, Chase Christensen. What'd you do with the rest of our money? Where is the rest, the other 59% of the cash that you were given by Wyoming citizens to give all of our teachers and staff a raise? What'd you do with that money? Did it go to your salary? Did it go to football pads? Did it go to, I don't know, your cell phone bill as the superintendent of public schools? Who knows? The only thing that we do know is that you didn't give it to the teachers. And now in an op-ed in the Sheridan Press, you're complaining about it. Mr. Christensen, you are welcome on this program anytime you like. And I would encourage you to come on the show and explain exactly where you spent all of our money, because I know you didn't give it to the teachers. In Sheridan County School District number 3, you gave an average of a little over 3% raise. Now, the other two school districts in Sheridan gave considerably more. One of them gave 6, and the other one gave 6, a little bit above 6. I don't remember which ones, which one goes to which school district, but still not 8.5%. Much better than school district number 3, but you still didn't do what you were paid to do.
Just a little aside. There are 3 school districts in Sheridan County.
Yep.
Most of the time around the state, we spend about $20,000 per student.
Over 20 grand.
Yeah, because of the remoteness of Arvada Claremont, that cost is about $40,000 per student.
$40,000 per student. And, a lot of this, too, it's for so long, we have, the way that we fund schools has been really, really opaque. And the reason for that is before COVID, what the legislature did was, unless you were in the Capitol building, you really couldn't see what was happening. None of this stuff was on YouTube. Well, now it is, and everybody can see what happened. I specifically remember the debate on House Bill 316, and actually, it wasn't just one debate, because this was originally put in the supplemental budget, which the Senate killed. And then I don't know which one, if either it was the Senate or the House, but one of you guys said, "Oh no, we have to do this," and it got put into this capital finance bill.
Yeah, it originally was in the budget at about half that amount, and it was there primarily because we couldn't leave it out, because we were getting sued at the time, and still are, for inadequately funding the schools. And so we were basically throwing them a bone. Well, as it ended up, this got attached to 316. I believe it was Senator Nethercott that brought it, and doubled the amount up to what had been recommended by whoever does the recommending what the level should be. I
recommenders.
forget the names of all the agencies and all that, but essentially they were given the money, and the rationale behind it was, let's not give them any more reason to aggravate the lawsuit that's already there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so 8.5%, all the school districts were given that amount of money. Now, here, it should be noted, and I think this is an important point, because I think this is a structural problem with how we fund schools, that all Wyoming schools are funded in a block grant. So the recalibration committee gets together, they take recommendations from experts, and they decide, all right, so this is the amount of money that we're going to spend per student, and they divvy it all up. Okay, this amount for teachers, this amount for transportation, this amount for football pads. I mean, it's all broken down really specifically. But school districts are under no legal obligation to follow that. So in essence, they get this big chunk of money that they can do whatever they want with. And so with this 8.5% raise, well, it was also delivered in the form of a block grant. The only difference here is the bill specifically said raises. Now, while schools aren't legally compelled to follow what the legislature says, they shouldn't have to be. I mean, come on, this one was pretty clear. The bill says for raises.
Yeah, this is not a recent issue.
No.
It's not a recent problem. We have tried for years to do what we call a silo, and to be able to say, okay, we're going to give you a block grant for salaries. It must go to salaries. We're going to give you a block grant for transportation, whatever it is, and try to hone this down a little bit. Some school districts, including the two big ones here in Sheridan, are fairly responsible and do a pretty good job.
Yeah.
And you don't want to go micromanage somebody that is doing a good job, but you get a rogue outfit.
Like school district number 3.
And there are plenty of them around the state. And eventually you have to say, no. The legislature is supposed to control, constitutionally, the purse strings.
Yeah.
That's our job. And when we see that abused, then we have to go fix it. And it's the same thing, they talk about local control and how the legislature likes to be heavy-handed, especially the Freedom Caucus. We want to go in and tell everybody how to do things. All we're doing is defending the Constitution. No local control usurps the Constitution, period.
Exactly.
And we're supposed to be the guardians of that.
Yeah, well, and here's and I guess in the defense of Chase Christensen, his school district wasn't the worst one. There were several of them that didn't give any raise at all, which, again, it's been fascinating to watch all of the Olympic backpedaling from school board, obviously school board members, to the episode that I published. And, you can try to justify it all you want. You can say that you gave more money in benefits. Well, quite frankly, you can't spend benefits. They're nice, but they don't pay the rent, and they don't buy groceries, and they don't make your car payment or anything like that. So I mean, the legislature said raises, so that's what it should have been. And Chase Christensen, kind of disappointed in you, man.
What benefits do is it means that your administration is deciding how you should spend your money. If you're an employee, you generate enough income for whatever employer you have to be able to pay for all those benefits. It's your money.
Yeah.
I would prefer skip the benefits, just give me the money, and I'll decide what to do. Problem is, a lot of people are irresponsible and don't insure themselves, and then they become a burden on the rest of society. Yeah.
That's their choice. And, Chase Christensen, man, really disappointed in your op-ed. So I kind of wrote one of my own. We don't know if the Sheridan Press will publish it. Hopefully they do, because it kind of presents the alternative viewpoint. Here's another one from the Cowboy State Daily. Push to change Hewlett Red Devils mascot sparks outcry. Now, if you thought this whole mascot thing was constrained to, the Washington Redskins or the Cleveland Indians, you'd be a little bit mistaken. And you might ask yourself, well, wait a minute, that was a long time ago. Well, things in Wyoming happen a lot later than for the rest of the country. So you can pretty much bet that, it's going to take 6 months, a year, sometimes 2 years for different things to hit the state of Wyoming. But apparently it has, and there's somebody in Hewlett that's mad about the Red Devils mascot, or the mascot being the Red Devils. And I quote, "Someone left a stack of papers at the Hewlett Library calling for the local school's grimacing Red Devil mascot to switch to a hawk sparking outcry in the town beginning Wednesday. But it's difficult to tell who's behind the proposed change. Even the most vehement opponents of the movement either don't know or won't say. A note accompanying the pamphlet gives a list of names of people who can provide information, but doesn't call these people proponents. The three sources of more info the note lists are Crook County School District Number 1 board member Hannah Ista, Jeannie Haas, and Mel Bears. Ista and Haas did not return phone call requests for comment by publication time. Bears told the Cowboy that she's not involved in the movement. Her name was probably placed on the note since she works at City Hall, and it's a hub of information and flyers. She went on to say that the Haases are good people. No doubt that they are. The controversy resurfaces in town about every 10 years or so. Brian Nyman of Hewlett ignited a Facebook-born resistance to the change when he posted photographs of the pamphlet to his page early Thursday. He told the Cowboy State Daily that he found the pamphlet at a local library, and he's been working all day to confirm who is behind the effort. Now, of course, the Red Devils mascot is an homage to Devil's Tower. Because if you're in Hewlett, you can look right to I guess it's to the north, and you can, depending on where you're at, you can see, no, it's not to the north, it's to the south-ish. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, you're right around there, and you can see Devil's Tower from town. That's what the mascot is for, and let's just be honest, it's just a mascot. It doesn't mean anything more than that.
They want to rename the tower as well.
Oh, yes, they do. That's a perennial thing. That was a big deal during the Biden administration, which I'm guessing the folks behind, and I don't know for sure. I'm just, shooting in the breeze here. But maybe the same people that are trying to get the mascot changed are the same folks that don't like the name Devil's Tower. I don't know. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's virtue signaling. And but it does point to one important thing, that the left is obsessed with symbols. The left believes that if you can erase a symbol, you can erase a movement. Now, of course, the Red Devils are not a movement, but it is a symbol, and it's one that some people apparently in that town don't like. But relate this to Charlie Kirk just for a second. And I don't want to go back and harp on his assassination, but whomever assassinated him thought that by killing Charlie Kirk, it would erase the movement. And I don't know how, maybe these people are not students of history, because it never works out that way. When you try to kill off a symbol, when you try to yank out somebody's tongue, the only thing that you're doing is going to amplify their message. And that is exactly what happened with Charlie Kirk. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen in Hewlett with the Red Devils mascot, but it's the same sort of thinking. Get rid of the symbol, get rid of the movement.
Obviously, Jesus was more than a symptom. Or a symbol.
Absolutely.
But when they killed them off, they did not destroy Christianity, and eventually it overtook Rome and the rest of the world.
Yeah, absolutely did. Well, I mean, it's the truth of Jesus. So, yeah, it's going to. So anyway, I mean, this is kind of ridiculous, but apparently they're going to want to change the mascot. And have you followed any, and Ken, you're kind of a football fan a little bit. Have you followed any of the Washington Redskins or Washington Commanders controversy that the Native American, even the family of the person that the Washington Redskins logo was based on, says that they want his head, his image back on the helmet. Have you watched any of that?
I have watched some of that, and I have a friend here in town who used to work at one of the lumber yards. I call him Cuz, because if anybody's been in Wyoming as long as we have, we're probably cousins. And he wears the old Redskins hat, and he's Native American. I said, don't you know that's supposed to be offensive? And he just looks at me and laughs. They consider it an honor that they be included in there. It is pretty ridiculous. Incidentally, one of the things I like to do late in the evening just to unwind and shut down is go back and watch old NFL games. I watched one last night from 1973, complete with
you are bored, aren't you?
No, it was a relief. I mean, they could not do a broadcast like that today. They would show a pretty girl in the stands, and Frank Gifford would go, "Boy, howdy!" It was a very different culture.
Very much so. Well, I mean, the whole thing too is that it's everything. Almost everything that comes from the left is entirely superficial, and once you realize it for what it is, it's pretty easy to argue against it. But this is just another example of the left pushing their crap in Wyoming, and I'm knowing Wyoming towns as I do, it's probably not going to go anywhere. From the Blaze, Biden's economy was a disaster. I think everybody knows that. Trump says the latest massive jobs revision blows up the Democrat narrative. Trump also criticized the Federal Reserve over its interest rate decisions. I happen to disagree with him on that point, but here's what the piece says. The newest jobs report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics included a revision showing a steep drop that confirmed criticism from Donald Trump that the department needed to be revamped. The BLS report released Tuesday showed that jobs estimates were too high by 911,000. The revisions were the largest on record for the Bureau after the president publicly excoriated the revisions in previous reports. Quote, they don't believe that money supply matters. It's like the Pope not believing in Jesus. Today, the BLS released the largest downward revision on record, proving that President Trump was right, yet again. Biden's economy was a disaster, and the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, is broken. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, I love that gal, wrote in a statement to Fox News Digital, quote, this is exactly why we need new leadership to restore trust and confidence in the BLS's data on behalf of the financial markets, businesses, policymakers, and families that rely on this data to make major decisions. Trump had accused the BLS of acting politically when some of the jobs revisions appeared to help Democrats ahead of the elections. Okay, well, the piece goes on. And there are several, different examples. There are several different examples of this. What about the FBI's crime statistics? And I guess it was probably, last September. I remember being pretty close to the election. But the FBI's crime statistics came out, and they said crime was going down, which that was demonstrably false. You could look at just about everywhere in every major city, and crime was increasing. Murders, rapes, carjackings, robberies, home break-ins. Across the board, crime was up. But it was manipulated statistics. And what always happened during the Biden administration, I don't know if you remember this, but they would come out with a big number, whether it was crimes or jobs or whatever. If there was a number, it was always overstated or understated, as the case may be, whatever was needed to make the administration look good. And then a month or two would go by, and then all of a sudden, it would be revised. Oh, we've revised the job estimates down to 2. I know we said 200,000, but really it's 2.
Rush used to do a real good job of updating people every time those would get revised, just even before Biden, but whoever was in office.
Yeah, it's a classic case of statistics lie and liars use statistics. You can take any statistic out of context if you want. I'm sure the op-ed that I wrote to the depressed Sheridan paper, it's got a lot of statistics in it. And I intentionally used a couple of them in there just to show how ridiculous Chase Christensen's numbers were. But that's what the FBI, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, several other different agencies were doing during the Biden administration, is they were just manipulating the numbers to make the administration look good. And in this case, they overstated the matter by almost 1 million jobs. Quote, the Biden economy was all smoke and mirrors, creating an illusion of strength on a foundation of weakness. These massive revisions bring a cumulative downward revisions to job numbers for the past 4 years to more than 2 million, which underscores what a challenging economic and fiscal situation the Trump administration has inherited. And if you remember correctly, Joe Biden constantly said, well, we've added more jobs than anybody in the history of adding jobs. Our jobs numbers are so great, over and over and over. But all of it was built on faulty numbers, faulty information that would be later revised when nobody was paying attention. Yeah, we've all heard of the Friday news dump, where government agencies release their mandatory data on Friday, because fewer people are paying attention. More people are, getting ready for the weekend, getting their truck all packed so they could go up the mountain for the weekend or whatever. They're really not paying attention to news. And then we find out the truth. And maybe Agent 29, if we want to add another thing to our list of things to do for the program, I should keep track of all these labor statistics numbers and see exactly what the change is. But the truth is, the Biden economy, and I think you all know this, was far worse than anybody led us to believe. And I mean, it's just another example of the Democrats lying to make themselves look better, which, by the way, is what they're doing all day yesterday, all day today. I've got a piece here. Oh, here it is. I thought I put it in the stack of stuff. AOC pushes gun control after Charlie Kirk assassinated with a bolt-action rifle. Okay, another great example, and I'll explain in just a second. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez described the assassination of Charlie Kirk as horrific, then pushed for more gun control. Speaking to reporters, she said, "This is horrific. This is awful. Are we going to do something, or are we going to argue over rhetoric? That's what my question is. We have to pass gun safety legislation to stop this." Ocasio-Cortez did not say what type of gun control she would like to see passed, nor what new law she thinks we need against bolt-action rifles. During a Tuesday morning press conference, FBI Special Agent Robert Bowles announced that he had found the rifle. They had found the rifle they believed to be used to assassinate Charlie Kirk. Bowles said it was a bolt action, and they found it in a wooded area. Okay, so any chance that the Democrats have to talk about gun control, they do. It doesn't matter if it was the gun's fault, which it never is, by the way, or if it was a person's fault. I would argue that we need people control, namely radicals that try to kill people for political reasons. This gun right here can sit on that book for 1,000 years. And if nobody touches it, it's not going to hurt a soul. It is not the gun that kills people. It's people that kill people. And until you get a handle on, mental illness or whatever it is that drives these crazy people to do what they do, you're not going to stop it, gun control or otherwise.
Unless it's an Army-issued Sig Sauer.
Yes. If it's an Army-issued Sig Sauer.
No, whenever something like this happens, there are a lot of factors that go into it. Yes, there are guns, and I just was reading statistics again the other day.
Oh, there you go, lying again.
And they're showing, actually it was in the Sheridan Press, and they were talking about suicides. They were talking about suicides, and they pointed out that as more and more guns are present, more and more times guns are used in suicide. So it's the gun problem. If we reduce the number of guns available, we'll reduce suicides. No, that just happened to be a convenient tool to use. There are so many factors, including, we kind of alluded to earlier, the disrespect for life itself, the exposure to violence from the time kids are little, and all these other things that go in there. And we never talk about any of those issues.
No.
That's all. The only thing we want to talk about is control the guns. If they were smart, they would come out and they would discuss some other issues and maybe try to make some other inroads there and better cloak what it is they're trying to do to destroy the Second Amendment.
I saw a post from the Babylon Bee yesterday, and it said, why won't they give up their guns? Ask the people that are shooting at them. It's not guns that kill people, my friends. It's people that kill people. And, it's unless you get a handle on what creates this mental illness. And I mean, there's a lot of that going on. I mean, I think that there's a lot of places in our culture where we don't address the real underlying causes of what are making people sick. And, after here in about 10 minutes, we're going to talk to my new friend, Michele, and we're going to talk about some of those things that make people sick and, make them do or not do some things. So AOC, she's just as crazy as ever. And, we shouldn't pay any attention to what she says.
I got a quick soundbite that might make you sick.
Oh, go for it.
Okay, our old friend Jasmine Crockett. There's two sound bites here, and the first one is right after she got elected.
You have to do off the wall right now.
No, just this one.
Okay.
I love watching your face. So the first one is right after she got elected. She's being who she is, and then the next sound bite. There's a brief pause, and the next sound bite is dependent upon the, shall we say, whoever's listening.
All right, hit me with it.
First of all, it's good to see you in the new year. No one could have told me that when I went down to Austin, now it looks like a little bit over a year ago, that I would be running for Congress.
Maybe because these people, they are crazy because they always talk about how Christian they is. Yeah, I don't know how many of them on that side are getting divorced because they getting caught up sleeping with their co-workers, staffers, interns, all the things. Yeah, you ain't got to believe me. Just go Google. You'll find some of it. I'm telling you, and the wives is being messy and petty. They putting it in.
Oh, my Lord.
Priceless, huh?
Before election, after election. That is far worse than Hillary Clinton. I can't even. I wish I had the soundbite where she was, somewhere in the South, and weird, her accent changed to one that she had never had before. I know ways tired, and it was Kamala Harris had tried that, and oh man, talk about pandering, and she's supposed to be an elected U.S. representative.
I'll be honest, I do that sometimes.
No. Let me correct you.
Okay.
Depending upon the audience that you're in front of, yes. Does your message change? Sure, absolutely does. Right? If you're in the appropriations committee, you're not going to say things that you might at a political rally. Okay, but and trust me, ladies and gentlemen, I have been at enough political events with Agent 29 here to tell you for a fact that he is the exact same person there that you see sitting behind this microphone. And while you may say some things to your political audience that maybe you wouldn't say on the floor, actually, sometimes you do try to say some of those things on the floor and get reprimanded for it.
It has happened.
Don't get your panties in a wad. That one was funny.
There were some others, but we won't go and rehash all those. But I do at times take on a little bit of a hick persona when I'm in a kind of a...
Well, you are kind of hickish.
I am. And
no offense to you,
it comes from there. But I'll do it like at a Chamber of Communists meeting. And I like to be underestimated. And I did it with Tara Nethercott the other day when I said, I may forgive me for being a little dense, but and I got her to admit the truth of what they were actually doing. So there's some of that's manipulative, but I think Jasmine there, our friend Jasmine, has taken it to a whole new level.
Oh man, that's the soundbite is together, isn't it? So you can't really just hit the second one.
First of all, it's good to see you in the new year. That when I went down to Austin, now it looks like a little bit over a year ago, that I would be running for Congress.
Maybe because these people, they are crazy because they always talk about how Christian they is. Yeah, I don't know how many of them on that side are getting divorced because they getting caught up sleeping with their co-workers, staffers, interns, all the things. Yeah, you ain't got to believe me. Just go Google. You'll find some of it. I'm telling you, and the wives is being messy and petty. They putting it in.
The wives are being messy and petty. I mean, this is worse than a scene off of Fried Green Tomatoes. Okay, anyway, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and take our second break to stop the Jasmine Crockett insanity. And when we come back, we'll be joined with my new friend, Michele Swinick. We'll be back in a minute.
Ever since gold backing was removed from the dollar, the value has dropped significantly over the past few decades. Experts say this is one of the main reasons goods are more expensive and your savings are worth less each year. How would you know how many dollars to save for retirement if the valuation of the dollar changes over time? Would you work all week for that $20 gold piece? Let's look at the valuation of this coin from the 1970s to today. When President Nixon took us off the gold standard in 1971, this coin traded for about $275. Today, it trades for about $14,000. Buying and holding rare coins using only a fraction of your portfolio is our suggested way to save for the future. Call U.S. Coin Capital at 1-800-878-2646 to get your free United States gold and silver buyer's guide.
Make sure that you subscribe and follow the Cowboy State Politics podcast. You can do that from the website, cowboystatepolitics.com, or anywhere that you get your podcasts. That way, you'll make sure that you won't miss a single episode of Cowboy State Politics. Welcome to Lessons in Civility by Morton Buildings. Gentlemen, is your garage completely jam-packed full of all of your unnecessary crap, and your lovely wife has been on your tail, nagging you non-stop to clean it out? It's not because she just wants to incessantly irritate you. Chivalry dictates that you should clear out a space so she can park her car inside and you don't end up sleeping on the couch anymore. To do that, contact Nick and Jesse at Morton Buildings. Their phone number is 307-674-2532. Not only are they the experts in metal building construction, they're also skilled at keeping you out of the doghouse. One more time. Their phone number is 307-674-2532, or you can check them out at their website, mortonbuildings.com. This has been Lessons in Civility from Morton Buildings. Welcome back to the program, Cowboy State Politics, live on Open Line Friday. If you want to be part of the show, the phone number in the studio is 307-374-8989. 307-374-8989. Whatever's on your mind, even if I don't like it, go ahead and call and we'll talk about it. Well, I'd like to welcome to the program my new friend, Michele Swinick. Michele, welcome to the program.
David, thank you for having me. It's I'm excited to speak to the people of Wyoming today.
Your first time talking to anybody in Wyoming? Well, no, we talked on the phone the other day.
Yeah, I have one friend that actually lives there. I don't know what city. I don't remember what city she's in, but she does have a house there. So that's it. I got one contact. I got one peep.
If you run into anybody else, you just tell them that Wyoming doesn't exist, or it's full, or you just forget about whatever you heard somebody else say about Wyoming.
Nothing bad. Never heard anything bad.
Well, that's good because it doesn't exist anyway. So, I mean, we're good. So anyway, welcome to the program. And I guess first question everybody gets on my show is take a few minutes and just tell my audience about yourself. Who you are, what you do, all that.
Well, let me back up since this is a politically oriented show. Okay. And you guys are out there fighting for your freedoms. As you can see, I'm a little fighting for my freedom. Also, I have an organization, but it's not an LLC or an Inc. It's just a movement called the Save My Freedom Movement. And my goal, my mission is to help 100,000 people 2.0 their health, their freedoms, and their finances. And the reason why I'm so passionate about it, and we started this movement in 2018, really kicked it in 2022 when I got into the political world hardcore, because I was an election judge in the November 8th, 2022 election here in Maricopa County, which I call Maricopa County. Yeah, well, it was the big event where, the ballots were popping out of the machines and it was just chaotic and Kerry Lake and blah, blah, blah. So I got branded as the whistleblower judge because they started talking about what I saw at the election center when I was working there, but what it turned out to be, because I decided, because God said, you're going to go ahead and investigate this. And it was not something I wanted to do. There was no money in it. So I partnered with an attorney friend, a new friend that was introduced to me who was doing somewhat of the similar thing from New Jersey. And we started to investigate the election. And then it turned into 2022. It turned into the 2020 and 2024 elections. So I spent 2.5 years doing that, 7 days a week, 12 to 14 hours a day, destroyed my finances, destroyed my life, destroyed my mental capacity, destroyed my mental state, destroyed my health. But at the end of the day, figured out and exposed but nobody seems to care how our election system operation really works. All the crimes, because they're crime scenes, they're not elections, for all of those, and they're still going on. Everything that happened in 2020 is still happening in 2022, happened in 2024, will happen in 2026 because that's the system. They are crime scenes. They are state and federal felonies, which are committed during these crime scenes. So now my goal is to have no one go through that ever again. And I don't want people to live in what I had to live through for the past 2.5 years, especially destroying your health and your finances. And you've got a great clip to start off the segment. So that's how I got to where I am today. So I don't want anyone to have to go through what I did. And you don't have to live like that anymore because there are solutions. You just have to make the decision to join us and to do it the right way.
Right.
So
well,
you don't have to do that.
Admittedly, one of the topics that I really haven't covered nearly as much as I should is the Make America Healthy Again movement, or RFK, and we've got a short clip to start things off with. So Ken, go ahead and play that RFK clip if you could find it. Maybe there it is. Uh-oh.
We are now the sickest country in the world.
I can pull it too.
We got it.
This week,
Okay.
CDC announced.
Is it Ken?
76.4%
You got it.
Americans.
Give him some extra cup of coffee this morning. I got a special
My
coffee.
uncle's
cup
president
for him.
was 11%. In 1950, it was 3%.
Well, I'll set it up in the
And,
meantime.
we're
This is
the sickest
RFK
country in the
Jr.
world. We have
and he
highest
is, and this is a meeting
disease
from
burden
either
of
Monday
any
or
country in the
Tuesday,
world.
and it was the CDC
And yet we
slash MAHA.
spend
No, it's Make
more on
America
healthcare
Make America Healthy
All right,
Again.
hold
No,
on.
it's Make Americans Healthy Again.
Okay, so we had the video playing. So, and I think that what he's saying there is, and I think most people probably heard it. Perhaps they've disregarded what he was saying, but it was very much what you and I were talking about last night. That we've got a lot of chronic disease. We've got people that are way overweight, and my lovely wife calls it eating like an a-hole. And we pay a lot of attention to that at our house because I am a type 1 diabetic. And so,
okay. We need to fix that. We can stop that.
We
can do that too.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, but you got to take care of your health. And I think that so many people, they just completely disregard it. And so why don't you run through for me just some of the things that we were talking about last night, how we do have chronic disease, and that there's a huge number of the population that is part of that.
Yeah, if you want to pull the second slide number 2, but I'll give you all the statistics because I think people need to hear it over and over and over. 76.4% of Americans have a chronic disease. And a chronic disease means you've had some sort of an illness for over a year. Okay, that's over 3/4 of the people in the country are sick. This audience is sick, right? And it's not because we're calling you sick. It's just a fact. But you don't have to be sick. Let's look at some statistics, especially with the children. And this is really concerning, right? This is really, really concerning because that's the future of this country. So if we're fighting, most people are fighting for their children's future. Let's look at it from a health standpoint. 38% of children are either diabetic or pre-diabetic.
Scary.
Diabetic or pre-diabetic, okay? They're kids. These are children. Now these are some ones that are really, really scary, these statistics. Not only do you have 1 out of 31 children are autistic, okay? 1 out of 31, which is just mind-blowing, okay? No, and I don't know if you've experienced an autistic child. I've seen 2 times I've seen an autistic child. And I was like, I couldn't imagine the pressure that puts on the family and the parents, because it's almost like you can't do anything, right? It's like it's chaos. Okay, so you're just trying to do your normal things in addition to all the other things that are going on. The burden that puts on, the stress levels, and the finances, the extra finances. So 8 out of 10 young men from ages 17 to 24 are not physically fit. They cannot enter the military. They're not qualified. So now you have a national security issue because we don't have enough young men that actually can fill the spots in the military. Okay?
That's terrifying to me.
It is. And it's not getting better, it's getting worse. Now let's look at young girls. Okay? Young girls are going into puberty 6 years before historically the age that they're supposed to be going in. So now you've got little girls that are just 6 years in advance of what they're supposed to be. And I remember a little bit about puberty. No, thank you. You don't want those kids because you're not there mentally. Okay.
Right.
And your whole body's a mess. Your whole body's a mess. So you're wondering why you're having all of these mental issues that are occurring with all of these children and all of these young adults and all these people. Okay. Because it all stems from our health. Now, the boys. Okay. This is now you want to talk about, mass depopulation or not being able to then reproduce. They have half the sperm count of what they're supposed to. They have half the level of testosterone. So we want our young boys to grow up to be men, to go ahead and fight for our country, whether it's in the military or just actually maybe go to a precinct committee meeting or go to one of the meetings that you're talking about there in Wyoming. Most of them physically can't. Either they have a chronic disease, right? They've got the diabetes as a kid, or they actually don't have enough man juice in them, the testosterone, to be the man that they're supposed to be. So we're trying to make them men, right? And then the schools are dumbing down the men, and the society is making them dummy down as men. But yet we want them to be men, and their genetic makeup right now, because they don't even have the physical capacity in them, and they certainly don't have the nutrients, they don't have the physical capability of being the men that they're supposed to be. So you've got a huge problem, which is almost like, it's like the perfect storm coming from every single direction, and it's only getting worse. And it all can be solved literally and turned around overnight. And we need to keep in mind, right? We need to keep in mind as adults, as citizens, as stand-up citizens, right? Out there fighting for America, fighting for our freedom, fighting for our kids, fighting for the next generation. It all goes back to we're being poisoned, guys. We're being poisoned by our food, our air, our water, our medication, and our media. Okay? So how are you supposed to fight for your country? How are you supposed to be great at anything, which you can't if you're sick, tired, toxic, broke, and dependent? So we are setting ourselves up for failure, because I gave this analogy, I think, to you on the phone the other day. So you're working all day. You're trying to get through your day. One of your kids is autistic. Maybe you're trying to homeschool him. And your husband, maybe he's got some depression issues, right? Which is all like layered on top. And I'm using it by an example this is one of my friend's examples, because this is her life. She's got 3 kids. She's working, he's working. She comes home. She doesn't know whether he's going to be crying in the corner or raging because he's angry. The autistic child has got issues there. The other 2 kids are doing whatever. And you want her to go to a meeting to go find out what's going on in the community?
Yeah, good luck with that.
How are you supposed to do that? But she wants to be involved, or the husband, he's got some other things he's got to worry about. But she wants to be involved because some of her friends are, okay? How is she supposed to go to a meeting to find out what's going on in her city council?
Well,
okay,
I think that's exactly the point, Michele.
That's another way to think about this. This is another. You've got some issues here, guys, and these are real issues.
Well, and
these are real issues.
Yeah, and when you're not taking care of your health, you're eating a bunch of crap. And before the show, Ken and I were talking about this. You go to Walmart, and you'll see somebody, and they've got their shopping cart, and it's just jam packed full of crap. There's ding dongs and ho hos and Twinkies and prepackaged stuff, chock full of preservatives. And none of it is probably healthy. And we wonder why we have a whole country that is chronically ill. Everybody's got a disease now. Apparently, everybody has a condition. Or
over 3/4.
Yeah, and there's a pill for everything. And
and that's not the solution.
No,
okay, the pill is not the solution. But here's the other problem, David. I know you guys were talking about the junk food, but the bigger problem, and this is what I want people to understand, because this is what I thought I was fine. So before I gained 38 pounds during this election integrity there's no such thing, election integrity, election investigation that I was doing, this is it. This is all I did. I destroyed my health. Before that, I was 38 pounds thinner, and I thought I ate well, so I thought I was healthy. I wasn't healthy, because you know why? Because they are poisoning the food, the air, and the water. like pull up graphic number if you can, because I can't see the graphics if you're pulling them up on the screen. Pull up graphic 5.
Okay.
Look at these statistics for graphic number 5. Okay. 85% of Americans, it says, don't consume what the U.S. Food and Drug Admin recommends, which is already too low. But look at the comparison and what they've done to the quality of the food. That is my point. Because even if you are eating what they're telling you, the quality of the food has been tainted by, you fill in the blanks. Okay, fill in the blanks, guys. I just want to make sure you're not censored on certain channels.
No.
In 1960, 1 cup of orange, 1 cup of spinach, 1 ear of corn, and 1 cup of wheat. Now in 2010, to get the same nutrients from one of each of those that your grandparents or your parents did in 1960, you need 8 cups of oranges, 80 cups of spinach, 19 ears of corn, and 2 cups of wheat to get the same. So you can't eat enough good foods to get what you need into your system for your body to function. That's not including, now this is from 2010. This is before they stuck in the mRNA and all of the other manufactured things that they're doing, like Gates is spraying his deal on the organic food. So you can't even trust the organic foods. So you can eat as healthy as you can, but you also need to make sure that you're getting the proper nutrients, because you have to supplement in order to do that. Because if you pull up number 6, this is what they're doing when they're putting on the pesticides on spraying on the actual vegetables that you're eating at the farms. What they're spraying, the guy's got a hazmat suit on. Okay, so think about that. You're eating what they have to, they're spraying to kill these little bugs. Okay, who knows what's in that container that they're spraying,
right?
But they have a hazmat suit on and you're putting that in your body. That's not including plastics. Do you know, do you want to hear some crazy stuff about plastics that I just learned about a couple months ago?
Sure.
Bottled water. Okay. And I'm trying to get away from the bottled water, right?
Oh, it's pure. Come on now, Michelle. It's totally pure.
No. The plastic bottle is more dangerous than if you drank the dirty water, because it sheds microplastics. Okay. So it sheds microplastics. So they've done these studies that just from drinking bottled water, like 1 bottle of water a day, in 1 week, in your brain, you have as much plastic as the size of a credit card stuck in your brain from the bottled water. So can you imagine, because you cook with the plastic containers, you put the plastic in the microwave, you're storing everything in plastic. I did the Amazon Whole Foods delivery yesterday. Okay. Because I was like, I could go to the store, but I have to buy the pool chlorine stuff. So I was like, I'll add on a bunch of the vegetables. So I did that. The amount of plastic that came with these vegetables, and some of them were quote unquote organic, filled up 2 brown bags with just the plastic containers that the food came in that was supposed to be organic. Okay. So just think about that. So no matter what, we are constantly getting attacked by everything that we are, from the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep, we're getting attacked by the air, food, water, of course, the meds and the media. And 90% of the people don't even get enough vegetables, just eating the vegetables, not including what's not in the vegetables.
Yeah, and
so
I think that's exactly the point. That, one of the things, and listening to you go through that reminded me of when I first became a diabetic, because I'm one of these late onset diabetes type people.
Oh, I can't wait to fix you.
Oh,
I can't wait to fix you.
And anyway, so you end up seeing a lot of doctors when you become a diabetic, and a couple of times I very nearly died. At some point I'll tell you my testimony about it. I think it's pretty cool. But anyway, I started getting straightened out, and I was talking to the nutritionist at the hospital. Her name is Karen. I really love her. I wish she still was at the hospital. But anyway, she told me, when you go to the grocery store, you see all these products that say diet this, diet that, lower fat, uber healthy this. And she said there's all these labels. And she said, but the point is you need to look at the ingredient label on them. And the example she used was Diet Coke. And, my first knee-jerk reaction, I hate Diet Coke, by the way. Me and Donald Trump wouldn't get along all that great. I'd have to have another button in the Oval Office. But anyway, Diet Coke, all right, it says, no calories, no carbs, right? Well, you look down at the ingredients, and the preservative, it's chock full of preservatives. Guess what those are? Sugar, right? And so the point that my friend Karen was making is that while you go to the grocery store and all these things say healthy this and diet that on them, really they're not, and they're just more expensive. And so her point was, why don't you try eating stuff that's fresh? You know, try to eat fresh vegetables. Try to cook things that are not stored in cans, that don't come in a crap load of plastic, and just try to eat normally. And I can't tell you like how big of a difference just doing that made in my health. You know, I pretty much got my blood sugar under control, felt way better, and you know, it makes a huge difference. But I think that, and one of the other things that you mentioned that I wanted to hit on too, is when you get busy and you're focused on whatever it is that you're doing, investigating election integrity or whatever. And I'd like to kind of visit about that just a second while I've got you on the program this morning. But when you're focusing on just that one task, and I find this happens when I'm down in Cheyenne at the legislature, things are so busy, like things are happening so fast that you just grab the nearest thing you can to shovel into your mouth because you're hungry. And more often than not, it's going to the closest fast food joint. In Cheyenne, it happens to be Taco John's. Or, you know, by the time you get to dinner, it's 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and you're too darn tired to eat anything healthy. So you just go to the only restaurant that's open. And, you know, I can tell you for a fact that after a couple of weeks, I feel like crap. And Ken, you can probably, Ken's a state legislator too. So, you know, Ken, you can probably weigh in on this.
I could, and I can also say it doesn't help to be down there in that pool of people.
Yeah, and people
from each other. Yeah, it's a bad place. But I had a little bit of a different question, if you'd care to comment. I'm a child of the '60s, back when food was still good, and we grew a lot of our own.
He needs a hand cart to tote around his birth certificate.
Yeah, but we would bring it home and we would cook it in this tremendous product that we just discovered called Teflon.
That's bad too.
Any thoughts or reactions to that?
It's all bad. Okay, so I haven't looked into the healthy version of what we need to do for the cooking appliances because I'm not at that stage yet. I'm trying to get myself in line, but that's the next phase, is try to look to see what other products there are. But Teflon's all bad. Okay, all of these products that they made for convenience, you have to look at it. They're not there. Okay, fill in the blank for they. They're not there to make our lives healthier. There's nothing about them who are making our lives healthier, especially when it comes to convenience. So if it's something that, oh, this is the newest and best, you have to look and see, especially back then. Back then it was even worse. But yeah, that's all bad. That's all bad for cooking, for anything. But I mean, I'm not going to go buy brand new pots and pans right now until I find one. But in the meantime, that's what I'm saying. When you mention you guys, like you had to go to the fast food place, you know, sometimes it's difficult not to eat something like that if, depending on your situation, like you said, there was nothing else open and you didn't bring a snack from home, right? I get that. But it's not something that you should be doing every day. And you can't do that every day. You just can't, because once I actually cleansed all this crap out of my body, and cleanse, balanced, and build. Now I went through that whole phase. It's quite a few months that I've been on these products. So I've gotten all that stuff out. When I do put anything bad in, I can feel it. Okay. So because it's like getting an oil change. So if you have a car and you put good oil on top of bad oil, the car's not going to run. But if you drain all the bad oil out, you clean it out, and then you put in the good oil, then if you did put the bad oil in, you're like, wow, okay, there's something wrong with the car. So when it's your body, you feel, like you said, you could feel it. So then you end up stop doing it. But it's more than that. But yes, Teflon, it's in the kitchen. You're going to use it. But if you're using everything else that's good, it's going to not make it as bad, because it's going to be difficult to eliminate everything, but you have to eliminate as much as you can.
Well, that's okay.
You have to be realistic.
That's okay, because 40 years ago, we went to cast iron and used that for almost everything.
You know, interesting that you bring that up, Ken. So my lovely wife, her name is Christine. She has an iron deficiency. And when we first got together, it was a big problem. Well, when we got married, all of my pots and pans are cast iron. And
I have one.
I've got
cast iron.
the most beautiful set of cast iron pans. Don't touch them; they're mine. Anyway, after I started cooking meals in those, weird, no more iron problem. Well, of course, you're cooking your food in your cast iron skillet. So anyway, I mean, there's a lot of different things that can be done to improve your health, and we've got. We're kind of running a little bit short of time, and I do want to talk about some of the election stuff in Arizona. But real quick, just tell my listeners, we've talked around this subject quite a bit, but why don't you just fill my listeners in on specifically what they could do to improve their health situation?
Well, first you have to make the decision that you want to do that. And that's the biggest part. Like, even if you're only going to if you're going to watch what you're eating, or you're going to start eating healthier, or you're going to do 10 sit-ups a day, you have to make the decision to what it is you're going to do, right? And there's so many things that we're doing that's bad that as an adult, someone doesn't need to come in and tell you you need to throw this out. Okay, you just haven't decided to do it, and you have to make the decision to do that, right? But for me, and for what worked for me, the biggest transition is when not only did I make the decision, and I wasn't doing the exercise like I needed to when I got on these Live Pure products, and then I moved forward. I couldn't do the exercise because you're supposed to do 10,000 steps a day, 7 to 10,000 steps a day. I couldn't physically do that because I was in so much chronic pain and inflammation, and it hurt too much to do all that. But once that pain was gone, the inflammation was gone, because I got all the junk, I got all the toxins out of my body, I was able to then start to exercise, which now I'm in phase 2. Phase 1 was the supplements. So you got to look at you don't have to do it all at once. You could do it in phases. Do it what's ever easier, pass the least resistance, because you have to make it as something you're going to do every single day. And I used to be an athlete, and then I'm like, I don't want to necessarily do that, and it's hot here. So I'm like, I'm not going to do that. So you have to just decide what's going to be easier for you to implement, so that becomes a pattern and it becomes a habit. And we have so much resources on our platform and part of our movement. So you go to savemyfreedom.us, savemyfreedom.us. I want you to subscribe to that. That's our Substack. And the pin post has more than enough information about certain products that you need to do, my testimonials, all that. Plus, I'm going to be doing some awesome coaching and support groups that I'm going to offer for free for everybody, because you kind of need that encouragement. Because if I'm doing it, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to turn the video camera on, and I'm going to say, all right, you want to go ahead? We're going to do exercises. And we're not working out like these people that are totally skinny, that have the washboard stomachs, that are doing all the exercise. I'm doing simple stuff, like you're laying in your bed and you're moving your legs around. Okay. So this is going to be stuff. So it'll make you do that. Because I'm not the type of person, I'm getting there. I'm getting better at making sure that I do the exercise portion. That's always been my Achilles heel. So I'm going to start doing that. So please join me in this journey and turn your life around, because we want to get that number down from 76.4% of Americans suffering from chronic disease. Even if it's just the people on this show, even if there's 20 people that are watching the show, that are listening to your show, your audience that just says, all right, I'm going to do that. I'm going to make the decision to make the change, because I don't feel good anymore. And I don't want to be in a wheelchair when I'm 70 or 80 years old. I want to be like walking around and going on trips and being able to travel. You don't want to be able to be like me 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, where I had trouble getting up out of a chair. And every time I'd step anywhere for the first 10 minutes of getting up from even bed, it was like walking on knives. You don't want to be in those situations. And I was only 51. And you could literally turn that around. So.
Yeah, and I think the biggest portion of it is personal responsibility, making a decision to do something about whatever situation that you're in. All right, so I want to switch gears real quick. We've got about 4 minutes before the break. What we hear in Wyoming about election integrity is, there is no voter fraud. That never really happens. We haven't prosecuted anybody for voter fraud. It doesn't happen, and you conservatives, you're just stupid for thinking that it does. Go for it.
All right. So voter fraud, they're actually kind of right. Voter fraud's not the problem. There is a handful of people that do things that they shouldn't be doing as the voter. That's not the problem. Okay. So you have to watch. Demons tell you the truth. You just have to listen and not interpret what they're saying. Take it for what it's worth, right? They have to show you what they're going to do when they do crimes. Elections are crime scenes. Elections are not rigged, and the Democrats don't cheat. All right. So those are words, like little baby words, like saying elections are rigged and that Democrats cheat are like saying that a warrior on the battlefield just got his arms and his legs blown off and he's got a hangnail. That's what it's like. Okay. Elections are crime scenes. They are manipulated and manufactured crime scenes where the counties control the results and the results don't match the vote. And we proved this here in Maricopa County with the official election records and returns from Maricopa County for the 2020, 22, and 2024 elections. So if anybody wants to dispute me, I will be happy to go on the stand, raise my right arm, bring in all my evidence that I've already exposed to the public, which has at least 500 million views on X for the past 2.5 years. And that's just the videos that I can show on my posts and my friends' posts. And that is, they are filled with massive federal and state felonies because the counties control the results. Your vote does not match the results. Sometimes it may if the counties feel like it, but the counties manipulate and manufacture the results. So it has nothing to do with Democrat and Republican, because here in Arizona during the 2020, 2022 elections, the executive branch was all Republican. The Arizona state legislature, both sides, the House and the Senate, was all Republican. And you had 4 out of the 5 board of supervisors who operate, oversee, and certify the elections were Republicans. Okay, you have the attorney general for the county attorney for the county was a Republican. So everybody, almost every single position that had a powerful position in the elections or the actual government was all Republican for the 2020 and 2022 elections, which had the most crimes.
Well,
so
and
it's
that's
not Democrats, okay, guys? So please stop saying that. And there's no such thing as election integrity. Election integrity is the scam, is the money laundering operation, is the distraction, because nobody has ever shown you the official election records and returns for the counties, which are so simple because they're all public and you can request them and they cost $0. But yet hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars have been raised for 4.5 years and nothing has changed and no one has shown you the crimes. And people wonder why nothing has changed, because everybody that is in this election integrity movement is either in on it or incompetent. Okay?
Yeah, and I think, in my mind, Arizona is probably the poster child for, any sort of election malfeasance.
It is the headquarters. It's
And
malfeasance, maladministration, and election fraud. You can say fraud because we've proven fraud. So you can say fraud. They didn't want you to say fraud because they don't want you to actually know what happens in the elections.
And I think the other point you bring up that is pretty important is that a lot of this stuff is being done by Republicans. And in Wyoming, this is the seminal problem. I mean, it's smaller now than it was since the Freedom Caucus took over the House of Representatives. But
you think because you don't know, because you can't trust the results. So see, that's the problem.
But
you can't trust the results.
But where I'm going with that is it's not just the Democrats. It's not just the Republicans. It's both of them. And in Wyoming,
the Uniparty. It's called the Uniparty.
Yeah, and in Wyoming, I call them redcoats because it's pretty hard to win an election here if you're a Democrat, and so they register as Republicans. They don't change their voting, of course. They only change that letter at the end of their name, and you really don't know. Well, Michele, pretty much run out of time, but I appreciate you taking the time to visit with me.
Thank you.
I'll call you later on this afternoon, and we'll visit some more. If people want to get a hold of you, how do they do that, real quick?
I'd love for them to go to savemyfreedom.us, savemyfreedom.us, and I want you to subscribe to that. But if you want to call me, you want to have a one-on-one, you want to talk about solutions for your health, or if you want to, I won't go in the election stuff. There's 50 videos you can watch. And if you go to the savemyfreedom.us and you want to learn about the elections, there's an election fraud tab. Go ahead and watch that. There's 50 episodes, lots of information. But you can always call me or text me at 601-301-3503. I'd love to hear from you. Again, we're going to start doing some little subgroups, and I'm going to turn that video on in the morning because I want more people to get healthy, because you cannot fight for your country. You cannot be great at anything if you're sick, tired, toxic, broken, dependent, and We don't want that. We need more people that are taking action like David's asking you to do. And I know that you can't do it if you don't feel good.
All right. Thank you, Michele. When we come back from the break, we'll continue on with the program. Are you tired of all the meaningless political drivel floating around right now? Endless commentary that really doesn't have anything backing it up? Do you long for the days of true investigative journalism coming from an authoritative source who really doesn't care how popular and apparently good-looking a politician is? Fortunately for you, that's what I do on Cowboy State Politics. New episodes are published every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, and you can get them anywhere that you get your podcasts. iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, really any of them will work. But the easiest way is just to go to the website, cowboystatepolitics.com. There, you can find all of the shows, as well as any of the articles I might bring up during the course of the program. Cowboy State Politics Live, the program you're listening to right now, is broadcast every Tuesday through Friday, beginning at 8 a.m. Pay attention to all of that other block-headed nonsense if you want. Just make sure that you don't miss an episode of Cowboy State Politics. And now, back to our program. Welcome back to the program. David Iverson, Cowboy State Politics Live on Open Line Friday. If you want to be part of the show, the phone number in the studio is 307-374-8989. 307-374-8989. Well, thank you very much to Michele Swinick for joining the program. A little bit different than we normally do here on the show. And admittedly, I've been kind of negligent on the whole RFK Jr. front. We haven't really talked about him on the program all that much. But I can tell you for a fact that we've got some major health problems in the country. I mean, before the program today, Ken and I were talking about, man, you go to Walmart most of the time late at night, and you'll see the extent of our problem. It's not a pretty situation.
We have a friend of the program, Representative Rachel Rodriguez Williams, who is pretty well versed on this stuff, and she's important.
She's important.
Yeah, that isn't what I was trying to say. She's very up on this, and she's even considering, my understanding, she's considering doing a podcast of her own, and maybe we should just put her on the list and bring her in sometime.
Well, I think we should probably do that. It's been forever since Representative Rachel has been on the show. But I did see not that long ago, she had a picture with RFK Jr. At some event. So, I mean, maybe we should let's schedule that.
She's in D.C. right now, but when she gets back, we'll do that.
Okay, great. Well, I want to move back to Wyoming for a couple of stories. And these two, this first one, it irritates me. From the Cow Pie. Article entitled, Gillette Cemetery Board Treasurer Sounds Alarm Over, listen to this one, and tell me if you've heard this before, payouts to nonprofit groups. And I quote, a member of the Campbell County Cemetery District Board. Why is it the most crazy places you end up finding this stuff? But the cemetery board.
That's where they keep all the Democrats, right?
Well, yeah, you know why there are fences around cemeteries in Wyoming?
To keep the Democrats from voting.
Yeah, keep the Democrats from voting. I mean, it's voter suppression if you want to call it that. But, maybe we need to build cages over. Anyway, continuing on. The District Board of Trustees is sounding the alarm over what he believes are improper payouts to several Gillette-based nonprofit groups. Now, before I even get into this happens all over the state of Wyoming. County commissioners and city councils get together and they decide who they're going to give your money to. And the Wyoming Constitution is kind of vague on this one, but it's not as vague as some county commissioners and city councilmen would like you to believe. It says you can't pay any private group, and this is a direct quote, except for necessary support for the poor. Okay, so what is necessary support for the poor? I mean, that's the vagueness in there. But a lot of these nonprofits, there's no reason why, there's no way that they could be supporting the poor. Let me just give you a couple examples. Trout Unlimited and the Nordic Club here. That's not support for the poor, but they still applied for money. I know Trout Unlimited didn't get any, but the Nordic people did.
I think that's one of the things that fascinates me about this lawsuit against the ESAs, because their case is constitutionally we can't give money to a private industry.
Yeah.
Yet we have the Wyoming Business Council. We have these issues you're talking about right here where cities and counties hand out money to private businesses right and left. And when I look at the lawsuit on the ESA, we can't lose.
No.
If we get our way, fine, we can use that money the way we voted for it. And if we don't, hey.
And here's the whole thing you have to do in that lawsuit. And I'm not a lawyer, nor do I play one on the program. But why don't you just pick any county and get the list of organizations that they gave money to, and that the attorney general and the city and county attorneys would swear up and down that everything they're doing is completely above board, but not apparently in Gillette. Board Treasurer Dean Vomhoff has served on the board since he was elected in 2020 and told the Cowboy State Daily that he was recently surprised to learn that the board allocates $10,000 a year to Energy Capital Economic Development and about $1,150 per year to Campbell County Chamber of Commerce. I don't know, why does a cemetery need to be part of the Chamber of Commerce? I mean, that's the cemetery and the coroner. I mean, people are just dying to get into their offices. I don't know that we need to. And secondly, why do you want to increase the economic development for the cemetery? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, they don't need any help. The cemetery district also sent $5,000 to a women's advocacy group, Happy Girls Don't Do That. That's what the group is called. These taxpayer-funded payouts have nothing to do with cemetery operations, Vomhoff said. And while he has tried to raise concerns with board members, Vomhoff said they've fallen on deaf ears. And I quote, in January, I go to all the board members and say, this is not right, funding these nonprofits, spending cemetery money on these nonprofits, he told the Cowpie. I bring it up in meetings, and they say, this isn't good. And before you know it, there'd be another check for $1,500. Cemetery Board President Jim Hastings also sits on the board of all three nonprofits. Wait a minute. So the nonprofits that the board chairman sits on are getting money from the cemetery board. I don't know. I don't see anything wrong with that. While the money represents a small portion of the cemetery district's, listen to this, $44 million budget, Vomhoff said this money would be better used for cemetery beautification and hiring maintenance workers. It might be a very small amount of money, but it still isn't right what they're doing. Rusty Bell, CEO of ECED, told it's the economic development outfit, told the Cowpie that its cooperation with the cemetery district is beneficial to all parties involved. Quote, the decision for the cemetery district to fund the economic development outfit is a board decision to fund the entity that will continue to work to, listen to this. It's a decision to fund the entity that will continue to work to stabilize the county mill levy through its work. So the mill levy needs to be stabilized by taxpayer funds that have already been taken from taxpayers?
Wasn't or isn't Rusty a county commissioner?
He was at one time. I don't know if he still is. But there's a gigantic conflict of interest here. The quote, the cemetery district. Okay, so not only are they giving money away to nonprofits, they also receive a mill levy for their funding, Bell said. Supporting the only entity that works to stabilize or grow the economy in Campbell County makes sense to me. Neither, I can't even believe I'm saying this, but neither Happy Girls Don't Do That or the Campbell County Chamber of Commerce responded to the Cowpie request for comment by the time this story was published. So this is just another example of parts of your government going absolutely rogue. And it turns into a good old boy system that your buddy's group needs money. And so you apply to the city, the county, or apparently the cemetery board, and then you're just written a check. my friends, none of this has anything to do with support for the poor. I mean, it's as if the Constitution doesn't exist to these people. And even if you ask county attorneys, like the one here in Sheridan, Clint Beaver, hey, show me the constitutional authority that allows you to write a check to nonprofits, which, by the way, are private businesses that don't have anything to do with the poor. And he'll just look at you with a blank stare.
I believe that everybody in the cemetery is poor because you can't take it with you.
Well, that's exactly the point. I mean, it doesn't take that much money to run a cemetery. And so another great example, though I haven't heard of payments being made to nonprofits, is Buffalo. So in Buffalo, the cemetery district had a $2 million reserve fund. What the heck does a cemetery need a $2 million reserve fund for? I can't think of a possible scenario. I mean, maybe they need to buy a piece of equipment, but even then, I mean, an excavator, that's not $2 million.
We might want to combat a zombie uprising one day.
That's true. It's true. That could happen. Perhaps the zombies are already in control of the cemetery. But honestly, my friends, this is just another example of why you have to be intimately aware of what your government is doing. And the only way that you can do that is to attend local meetings. And I know it's a pain in the butt. In Sheridan County, it's really hard to attend a county commissioners meeting if you want to hold down gainful employment because they meet in the morning. City council, nah, not so much. I mean, they meet in the evening, so that one's not that hard. But I've always said, my friends, that you are more likely to lose your liberty at the local level than you are at the county. Well, the county level, yeah, too. They build flower pots and spend $3 million. Or at the state level or at the national level. You got to pay attention to what these jokers are doing right in your town council meeting if you want to guard your freedom.
The school boards, for example, they may not give appropriate raises and then turn around and blame it on somebody else.
Exactly right. School boards, another perfect example. I can't tell you, I have lost count at how many times the budget for school district number 2 in Sheridan has been increased. I mean, it went from like 50 million to 60 million, and now I don't know, maybe we're up to 75 million. But there is no consideration of accounting for that money. And when they're given cash specifically for raises, they spend part of that money elsewhere too. That I don't know where this stuff is going to end, except that it will not end until you become involved. And it's, you might think that, okay, I'm just one person. What can I do? Nobody's going to listen to me. Well, that's not true, my friends. That even though you're one person, you can run for a precinct seat. You can run for city council. If you don't feel like running, maybe you can go knock on doors for somebody like Ken. Or maybe, perhaps, if you're not so good at knocking on doors and you're scared to death of people, maybe you can watch the kids for somebody that will go knock on doors. Or maybe you don't even like kids. Well, you can certainly bake a pie for, the next fundraiser. Or maybe you suck at baking. Okay, well, you can drop a check in, when they pass the hat around. But everybody can do something, and none of this crap is going to change until we get off our butts and go do it.
Two things. One of them, Charlie Kirk, was just one person.
Yeah.
He made a difference. 6 years ago, I was just a frustrated carpenter looking at local government.
And you're still a frustrated carpenter.
Yeah. Looking at government and saying somebody should do something. Guess what? Now I am right in the middle of all of this, and I have a say.
Yeah.
You can do more than you think you can do. You can have more of an effect than you might think you can do. The problem is you have to get up off your butt and sacrifice.
Absolutely right. I mean, you have to go do something. And it's like, it's like Michele was talking about earlier. You can do it. You just have to make a decision to go do it. And, I got to tell you, more often than not, if you sit through one city council meeting, you'll be pissed off enough by the time you leave that you have all the motivation in the world to try to do something. So let's see here. What else do I have? Oh, okay. So I had this update here from the interview we did yesterday with U.S. Senator Cynthia Lummis. She was talking about all of how much difficulty they're having in getting Trump's nominees through the Senate. Well, from Fox News this morning, GOP triggers the nuclear option in the Senate to break the Democrat blockade of Trump nominees. And I quote, after an attempt to secure a bipartisan deal failed, Senate Republicans went, quote, nuclear for the fourth time in the Senate's history Thursday to speed up confirmation of President Donald Trump's nominees. And by going nuclear, they mean changing the rules of the confirmation process so that they can move nominees through. Republicans had threatened to go to the nuclear option, which would allow for a rule change with a simple majority vote to blast through the blockade from Senate Democrats and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. Lawmakers were frustrated that though the first 8 months of Trump's presidency, not a single nominee had moved through fast-track unanimous consent or voice votes. The truth is, in most other administrations, a lot of nominees had gone through with just a unanimous vote or just unanimous consent. Like, hey, any objections? Okay, none. Great, you're through. This time around, not a single one of them did that. Senate Majority Leader John Thune argued that it shouldn't have come as a surprise to Democrats what Republicans intended to do. Quote, I've been saying all week, we're going to vote on this on Thursday, one way or another, Thune said. We're going to change this process in a way that gets us back to what every president prior has had when it comes to the way these nominees are treated here in the U.S. Senate by both sides, Republicans, Democrats, both presidents, Republicans, and Democrats. All right, so they changed the rules. They're going to move these nominees through. But this is also, and you might think that this is unrelated, but it absolutely is tied. This is the very reason why a convention of states is dangerous. Because even though the Senate had a rule in place that these nominees could not go through, and admittedly, the Democrats were abusing it, all they did was change the rules to be able to do what they want. Now, I would argue that they did the right thing, that okay, in this situation, okay, great. But what happens when it's a Democrat that's in charge and they've got a whole bunch of crazy nominees that Republicans don't want to get through? Well, they've changed the rules, and what's good for the goose is good for the gander. The reason I say that this is the exact same problem with the Convention of States is you can hear all day long of how it's going to look like, what's going to happen, how it's going to proceed, what topics are going to be discussed, but you don't know for sure until that Convention of States convenes and they decide on the rules. It's just like at the House of Representatives, Ken. Very first thing you guys do in a session is agree, you agree with the rules or pass them or change them or whatever. Until that happens, you can't really conduct any business.
Same thing down in committees. The first thing a committee does is assign the rules to that committee. And as we talked a couple of days ago, that's exactly what bit the other side in the Capital Finances. 3 of us were able to stand up and block it. In this case, I think it was a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. No taxes.
But it also happens against us more often than not.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, anyway, so the problem we talked about with Senator Lummis, it's on its way out. And this obstruction is super frustrating to a lot of American citizens. I know it's frustrating to me. During the interview with Harriet Hageman, which that's on the podcast, it's called No Roads to Nowhere with Representative Hageman. If you haven't listened to it, you should go check it out. It's an interesting conversation. But one of the things that she mentions is we are yet again going to pass a continuing resolution that we apparently can't have a budget. Okay, so we're making some progress on it. But the truth is there's no excuse for them not passing a budget. It's the only reason that they haven't yet is they don't want to, or the Democrats don't want them to. Or maybe both. I mean, who knows what happens in Washington, D.C. But the truth of the matter is they're just kicking the can down the road. One last piece to finish out the program. And I've been sitting on this article for a couple of days, and I've been meaning to get to it, and I just haven't yet. But this one's entitled, HHS Secretary RFK Jr. says the Biden administration twisted abortion pill safety data. Go figure. Why would they do that? Maybe because they like killing babies. And I quote, the Democrat Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, he's not a Democrat, I misspoke at the beginning of that sentence, accused the Biden administration of manipulating abortion pill safety data. First of all, it's an abortion pill, so I don't know that there's anything safe about it. I mean, its very intention is to kill human life. So it's not safe to begin with. Just a thought.
I don't think that they like to kill babies. I'm not going to attribute that to them. But they do like to make money, and that, to me, is the key.
How can you say
so
that,
much
Ken?
money involved in
If all these Democrats,
No,
every
they
time
don't-
they turn around...
It's not necessarily that they like to. They just don't care.
Okay.
They care about money, and the money is there, so that's what we're going to do. And if some innocent babies get killed, and then you can convince yourself of all of these silly arguments that it's really not a human being yet, it's whatever, you justify your own action, but your action is there because you want to make money. I think that's the case. But
Well, maybe that's the case. But in the end, it's still babies that get killed. And, so if the end result is killing a baby while you're making money, then I think we could probably make that argument. But, and here's the thing. Words mean things, and we should call things as they are. Abortion, when I think of the word abortion, I imagine we're going up in the space shuttle and something goes wrong, and there's a big button that says abort the mission. Abort the mission, abort the mission. We use that word because it's clinical in nature, because it allows us to talk about something without throwing up in our mouth. That's why we use that term. We should really just call it what it is, and that's killing babies. So continuing, Kennedy Jr. made the remark during his Senate Finance Committee hearing on Thursday about the Trump administration's health care agenda. Senator James Langford specifically questioned the secretary about the Food and Drug Administration's safety review of mifepristone, the first drug used in a 2-drug medication abortion regimen, after a study was released in April suggesting that the abortion pill complications, listen to this, are 22 times higher than previously reported. So not only are you definitely going to kill your kid, you may end up killing yourself too. You've made statements on this. The FDA commissioner has made public statements on the issue of reviewing safety issues on mifepristone. Your comments earlier were that every drug needs to be treated the same, needs to look at the same and not have the political biases in how things are actually examined. So essentially the hearing boiled down to the FDA approving drugs for the market that hadn't gone through clinical trials, that hadn't had the necessary safety tests on it, which, again, I find it morbidly contradictory when you're talking about the safety data of an abortion drug. But anyway, I'm going to keep an eye on that one because I'm really hoping that the FDA and HHS put some restrictions on the abortion drug. Well, we've pretty much burned up another busy broadcast, 2 hours, broadcast week on the program. Make sure that you don't miss the podcast, which is broadcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday morning. And again, don't miss this program every Tuesday through Friday, beginning at 8 a.m. So we'll be back on this program next Tuesday. Have a good weekend, my friends, from the base of the Bighorns. At the Cowboy State Politics Studio, I'm David Iverson, and this is Cowboy State Politics. Have a good